What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Zimmy here once again with How to Mage 5.0. This is part 3, guys, the rotation. So I'm going to get into it real fast. I'm going to explain to you guys what the priority systems are as a mage depending on what spec you do. Right now I am currently fire, so let's do fire. Brief explanation. Basically, we're going to want to keep whatever bomb we have up as much as we want. You want to keep this up due to the pyromaniac effect. As you can see right here, it is going to increase our damage by 10% for our fireballs, pyroblasts, inferno blasts, and even our frost firebolts, even though we don't really use frost firebolt. But so we want to keep the bomb up. After that, then we want to start spamming fireball. Once we get a heating up proc, as you can tell right there, I used Inferno Blast. Use Inferno Blast, it's going to immediately cause a hot streak proc. Now, to clarify what that does, heating up is your first stage of your hot streak, okay? You get the heating up proc, then you hit Inferno Blast, and Inferno Blast has a 100% guaranteed crit chance. So, you get the heating up, you finish casting your fireball with the travel time, you hit the Inferno Blast, and bam, you get another crit, you get the hot streak proc, and you have a possible chance of getting another hot streak proc if your pyroblast crits. Pretty plain and simple. For your combustion, you basically want to make sure that the two important dots that are on the target is your pyroblast and you have a good ignite. You want to have something that's going to track your ignite, like a combustion helper or big ignite. And then let's get this going here. I have it set to a threshold, so we want to make sure we hit that threshold. This is going to turn green when I get it. Bam, and bam. Threshold, combustion. There you go. And that's going to do 5k damage per tick for a set amount of seconds, depending on if I have the glyph or not. Now, if you are a troll, some extra things you want to throw in here. You can pop your berserking just as you're about to hit your combustion, and you will gain extra ticks off of it because of the berserking. You also want to make sure that you have lust up as well, or a trinket proc like this one, velocity. All those coincide with your combustion coefficiencies for haste, and you get those extra ticks. It's quite amazing, and you can get huge DPS bursts on that. Next, I'm going to show you Arcane. Alright guys, this is the Arcane spec, as you can tell. I'm going to pop mage armor here real fast. Now this is going to give me increased mastery, which is what I definitely want for Arcane. Now, basically, same priority system. You want to make sure your bomb is up. That's going to give you extra damage. Then you're going to start casting Arcane Blast. Now, if you get an Arcane Missiles proc, you're going to want to use it. Now, depending on your mana, you will want to cast Arcane Barrage between 4 to even 5 stacks of the Arcane charges that you gain. Alright? That's going to basically make sure that you do a maximum amount of DPS while you're gaining extra DPS from your mana adept. As you can tell right there, I'm making sure that every time I get an Arcane Missiles proc, I use it. I prefer to use an Arcane Blast at the end of it, or at the beginning of it, just so I can possibly count an extra Arcane Missiles proc. However, if I get 2 like that, then I'm going to make sure that I use that automatically. Now, some things to take in. If you have Arcane power up, you're going to want to just keep spamming Arcane Blast to maximize your damage output. However, I would suggest once you get to 6 stacks, you probably want to get rid of those with Arcane Barrage and then continue with the Arcane Blast, unless you can hold the mana upkeep. If you can hold that mana upkeep, then you're definitely going to want to just keep casting Arcane Blast until your Arcane power charges are over with. You can also use Presence of Mind at this time as well, or if you want to just sit on it if you know a movement fight is coming, a movement part of the fight is coming up. I personally do not like Arcane, but hey, some people like it, so throwing it in here. Quick overview. Basically, I'm casting, I'm going to hit Arcane Power, bam, I'm going to start spamming Arcane Blast. as long as I can hold the mana upkeep. As you can tell, my mana is drying out, so I'm going to put an Arcane Barrage in there, but I'm going to keep spamming Arcane Blast. I don't want to use Arcane Missiles at this time until my Arcane power is gone. As you can tell, I would be using a Mana Gem at 80% mana, however, I do not have one. So I'm just going to keep going. Once I get done with the burn phase, oh, it's over. I'm going to Evocate, get back to 100% mana. I've got 2 Arcane Missile procs, so I'm going to use those right at the end of that. Obviously, I want to keep keep my bomb up at all times as much as I can to maximize my increased damage. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the Arcane rotation. As you can tell, it is pretty simple, a lot more intuitive than it used to be. And next, I will show you the Frost rotation. Alright guys, I'm in my Frost spec now. Gonna put on my armor. Now there's 2 choices in armor as Frost. I personally like the Frost armor for more haste. You're definitely gonna want more haste as Frost. However, if you cannot meet the soft crit cap of 25%, you're going to want to run Molten Armor, but 25% is pretty easy at this point in time. However, once we get to level 90, it may be a little bit harder to get depending on your gear. So, once again, number 1 priority is I want to keep my bomb up at all times and try to keep that up. Now, here's where things get a little extra additive. You want to make sure that you have 3 stacks of Frostbolt. So, in my preference, I'm going to put those 3 stacks of Frostbolt on before I do anything else besides the bomb. So, I put my bomb up, get my 3 stacks. I've got a Brain Freeze proc, so I'm going to use that immediately. I now have this one right here is your Fingers of Frost proc. You want to make sure every time you get Fingers of Frost, you hit that Ice Lance button because it's basically going to act like your target is frozen, and that's the way to go, just like it used to be back at 4.3 and so on and so forth. Now, you want to make sure that you use your freeze on cooldown as long as you don't have no Fingers of Frost procs. That's going to give you an immediate Fingers of Frost. Every time Brain Freeze procs, you want to make sure you use Brain Freeze. So, bam, Fingers of Frost proc, gonna Ice Lance there. My bomb just fell off. Gonna put my bomb up. I like to finish off a cast before I do an instant. Bam, another Brain Freeze. Bam, an Ice Lance. And another Brain Freeze. This is a lot more button pressing. I'm gonna make sure also on top of that I put Frozen Orb down on cooldown. So that's another key thing that you want to make sure that you have. Now, Frozen Orb is going to give you Fingers of Frost procs, and they're going to give you a lot of them. So you want to make sure that you keep those in hand. You always want to use Freeze on cooldown if you can manage it, as long as you've got no Fingers of Frost. Oh, my bomb fell off. Got to put my bomb back on. And that's pretty much the rotation. It's based on a lot of procs. So you're always wanting to keep an eye on those procs. Use your Icy Veins on cooldown. That's the best way to go. Since I'm a troll, I also like to basically put a macro on my Icy Veins and Berserking, so I have both of those up at the same time, especially since I glyph Icy Veins. So I still get a haste buff when I hit Icy Veins for some of the times. Make sure you pay attention to your Icy Veins. You want to keep that on cooldown. Make sure that you also kind of line it up on a refreshment of a dot if you're getting the haste buff and not the glyph, so you can get maybe possibly an extra dot off your bombs. That's pretty much it, guys. Those are the rotations. These are very basic, simple rotations. Things do change during AoE situations, such as fire. You want to make sure that you're spreading your dots to your extra targets. You want to make sure that if it's 5+ targets that you throw a flame strike down, because that's also going to increase your DPS, even though it's a cast and cooldown. For Arcane, you want to make sure that you get 3 procs or 3 arcane charges, 3 to 4 arcane charges, and use Arcane Barrage every time you do, so you can get that AoE spread of Arcane Barrage. And for Frost, you want to make sure that you have Frozen Orb definitely once again on cooldown, and that you even take the glyph of Ice Lance, so you're getting that extra cleave damage. The only things that are really going to change after that is depending on which bomb you use. Once again, that's going to be based on AoE situations. And if you're on a 3-target fight, whether you be Arcane or Frost or Fire, you're going to want to make sure you glyph and Fire Blast so you can spread your dots. You'll have to throw in a Fire Blast into your rotation to spread those dots, but it's well worth it. Hope you guys enjoyed this part 5.0 How to Mage series. This is the end of part 3, and this is the end of the series. I will be coming out with more videos. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button to find out when I come out with videos, and thank you so much for the support. Good night.